They thought American tanks were weak until they were surrounded. They called them coffins on tracks, thin-skinned, underpowered, disposable. Across Europe, German tank commanders looked at the American M4 Sherman and laughed. Compared to the massive Tiger with its thick armor and devastating 88mm cannon, the Sherman seemed like a toy, a machine built to lose. But history would soon teach them something terrifying. Wars are not won by the strongest machine. They are won by the nation that can move faster, adapt faster, and strike again and again until the enemy has nowhere left to run. And when the dust settled, it wasn't the Tiger that defined the armored war in Europe, it was the Sherman and the soldiers inside it. By 1944, American industry was producing tanks at a scale the world had never seen. More than 49,000 Shermans would roll off assembly lines, shipped across oceans, driven straight into battle within days of arrival. While German factories struggled to replace every destroyed Tiger or Panther, the United States replaced entire battalions almost overnight. The Sherman wasn't designed to dominate in single combat. It was designed to move, to survive, and to fight again tomorrow. Its reliability was legendary. Crews trusted it, commanders depended on it, and above all, it fit into something far more powerful than steel or firepower, a system of warfare built on coordination, logistics, and overwhelming momentum. German crews initially welcomed Sherman encounters. In one-on-one engagements, Tigers could punch through Sherman armor at ranges where American guns couldn't even respond. In early battles, this seemed to confirm every assumption. The Americans had built a weak tank. But the battlefield doesn't stay frozen in perfect duels. It moves, it shifts, and soon German commanders began noticing something deeply unsettling. Every time a Sherman went down, another appeared, then another, then 5 more, and behind them came infantry, and above them came artillery, and overhead came aircraft. What began as confidence turned into confusion, and then into fear. Because the Americans were no longer fighting tank battles, they were fighting systems battles. In Normandy, in the hedgerows of France, in the forests of the Ardennes, and across the plains of Germany, this reality became brutally clear. A lone Tiger might destroy 2, 3, even 4 Shermans, but while it reloaded, while it maneuvered, while it searched for its next target, American forces were already flanking. Smoke rounds blinded its optics, infantry closed in with bazookas, artillery coordinates were called in, fighter bombers circled overhead, waiting for a signal. The Tiger's armor, once its greatest strength, became its trap, heavy, slow, difficult to reposition. Meanwhile, Shermans kept moving. They weren't hunting alone, they were hunting together. German veterans later described the psychological shock of these encounters. They spoke of how American armor seemed endless, how destruction no longer slowed the advance. Where German doctrine prized individual vehicle superiority, the Americans fought with something more terrifying: inevitability. The Sherman wasn't meant to win the duel. It was meant to win the campaign. It was the embodiment of American industrial warfare, simple enough to repair in the field, reliable enough to cross entire countries, and numerous enough that loss never meant collapse. One tank fell, another replaced it. One unit stalled, another advanced. The front kept moving, always forward. And above it all was coordination. Shermans didn't operate in isolation. They moved with infantry squads protecting their flanks, engineers clearing obstacles, artillery units standing by to shatter enemy positions, and air power ready to strike German armor the moment it revealed itself. This web of support transformed the battlefield. Tigers weren't defeated by Shermans alone. They were defeated by radios, logistics chains, fuel depots, airfields, repair crews, and commanders who understood that war is not about who hits hardest once, but who can hit hardest every hour, every day, until the enemy breaks. By 1944 and into 1945, German tank crews no longer mocked the Sherman. They feared it, not because it was unstoppable in isolation, but because it was unstoppable in numbers. It kept coming. It always came with support, and it never came alone. The Sherman became the symbol of something far larger than itself, the unstoppable momentum of American warfare, where destruction was temporary and advance was permanent. Tigers could win battles, Shermans won wars. So when people say the Sherman was weak, they're measuring the wrong thing. They're measuring armor thickness instead of operational power. They're measuring gun caliber instead of industrial dominance. They're measuring individual survival instead of strategic inevitability. Because on the battlefields of Europe, the Germans didn't lose to a tank. They lost to a system. And the Sherman was its most visible, relentless, unstoppable expression. If you enjoy real stories about human wars, subscribe to WHH Tales. Here, we don't tell myths, we tell memories.